All right, here we go. Lo Sihiye Mishakeila. They will not be amongst you. Look at the pasuk from Parshas Mishpatim, which is Lo Sihiye Mishakeila v'akar b'atzecha es mispar yamecha amalei. There'll be no bereaved, as in no woman should have a miscarriage or have to bear the young, God forbid, not be a barren woman in your land, and I'll fill the number of your days. This pasuk is following the pasuk that comes before it. One verse follows the other verse. You shall serve Havaya Elokechem. You will bless your bread and your water, and I will remove illness from your midst. Just on a basic level, we can see that there's three fundamental brachas that are being covered in these two verses. That God will bless your bread and your water. That's the bracha for parnasa, sustenance, and not just to have enough, but to have in abundance, to have even more. Amen, for everyone. Also, we have the bracha for life. That not just I will remove illness from your midst, but I will fill the number of your days. So not just that you shouldn't be sickly, but you should have longevity, a full life. Amen. Can you read that? And also, Lo Sihiye Mishakeila v'akar, that will not be a bereaved or barren. That is a bracha for children, not just children who survive, but they thrive and also have long life. Amen, for everyone.
So, speaking of blessings, they tell a story of the Alter Rebbe that he was once collecting money for widows and orphans or captives, whatever it was. And he goes to this one city, and the leaders come out to greet him, etc. And, okay, I'm going to this particular person's house. And this person was known for being a very big miser, trying to persuade the Alter Rebbe not to go there. And the Alter Rebbe says, yeah, we're going to go there. I'm going to take two people with me, and we're going to go to this person's house. And they're trying to warn him, this guy does not give, nothing. The Alter Rebbe is adamant. So he goes with the two people, they go to the house, and he tells them, okay, listen, no matter what happens, nobody say anything. Let me do all the talking, let me take care of everything, and just everybody just be quiet. So they go in, beautiful home, and wait, the owner comes, the miser, and oh my goodness, this story truly touches my heart. What? Oh my goodness. I really want to be part of this. I want to help with this. It's such a terrible situation. And he pulls out from his pocket, he pulls out this rusty, grubby copper coin. He gives it to the Alter Rebbe. And the two other people that are there, they're seething. We told you, but okay, they don't say anything. The Alter Rebbe takes the coin and just thank you so much. What a beautiful, thank you so much. The donation that you gave, and thank you so much. And the blessings and the blessings and the blessings. Thank you so much. And they turn to go, and it's just so many blessings and blessings. And they go, and after leaving the house, the two other people have come with the Alter Rebbe. You shouldn't have taken that from him, etc. And the Alter Rebbe say nothing. They get closer to the gate, and the miser all of a sudden is calling out, wait, rabbis, don't go. They turn around, they say, come back in. They come back inside, they sit down, and he says, no, I was thinking, what a story. The money that you're raising for these captives, for these people, what's happening to our people, etc. How much money do you need? And Alter Rebbe is, okay, we're raising 5,000 rubles. Okay, I want to be part of this mitzvah, and you know what? I'm going to give you 1,000 rubles. Now the two guys, their eyes are almost popping out of their head. Not just that they took the coin and he's being called back, but now they're 1,000 rubles. Oh my goodness. The Alter Rebbe takes it, and blessings, and thank you so much, and what a mitzvah, what incredible, and God bless you, and bless you, and bless you. And they start leaving. Okay, thank you so much. They go, and as they're going again, the two other rabbis are just, their minds blown at this point. Never mind that the Alter Rebbe took the copper penny. But they thought they get 10 ruble out of him, but you got 1,000 rubles out of this? It's a miracle. Whoever heard of such a thing? They get into the gate again, right before they can exit, and the miser's calling them back. No, wait, rabbis, wait. Bring them into the house again. He says, you know, this story. And he says, that's it. I want to pay for the whole thing. And he ends up giving them, in total, the 5,000 rubles. The guys, they have no idea what just happened here, because this miser who never gave nothing to nobody, besides for this rusty penny, and the Alter Rebbe is blessing and thanking him, etc. Then all of a sudden he ends up getting the whole amount. So they're finally like, what is going on here? How did you get this miser to give? And the Alter Rebbe says, it's inherently, he's not a miser. He's a Jew who wants to give. But his whole life, he gives a coin to someone and they're throwing it back in his face. So he gets caught up in this, that he's always just giving the coin, he's getting thrown back in his face. He just had to have been appreciated to show this is the joy of giving, and that opened him up now to be a giver. So that's the story. And now, connecting it to the whole blessing thing, something I was thinking about is that sometimes we're going to God, or these are the things I need. This is my 5,000 rubles. And we get, within whatever time frame, following the prayer, we see that we get some sort of small bracha. Something that we specifically asked for, or something that we didn't even expect. And it's some small bracha. But do we accept it, or we just take it and we're like, well, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't my whole 5,000. You throw it back. God forbid. You're going to throw back the bracha that Hashem gives you. And then what happens? You're going to throw back the bracha. What do you think Hashem's going to say? Well, you don't want my brachas? What is this? So we have to sometimes remember to reorient ourselves. We have all these wonderful ideas. Everything that we want is definitely needed. But we have to remember to be grateful. A rusty copper coin is still a copper coin. It just, we're not seeing it for what it is. We're not seeing the value for it. Either it seems to have the rusty overlay on it, but maybe we're the ones who are putting a covering over it, so we're not fully appreciating what it is. Who knows what it will be, but we have to remember to appreciate the smaller things, the little things when we're getting them, and not, God forbid, be ungrateful, but to also be appreciative and accepting of that, because the little blessings, we also have to celebrate them and also appreciate them. Okay, so anyway, now, when we look at the verse that there will not be, lo sihiye, there will not be, how are we supposed to understand this? Is this a command? Make sure that this doesn't happen, or is this a promise that God's saying, I'm going to make sure that this doesn't happen within your land? Ultimately, what we get to is that one is dependent on the other. When we do everything that we're supposed to do, serve God as you're supposed to, then all the blessings will come to pass, will come to be. We have to do our part
part, then God does his part. Question, according to the Gemara, this kind of stuff is actually not dependent upon service, it's actually dependent upon mazel. It's a whole separate thing, the Jews are not bound by mazel. But anyways, as in, when we say it's bound by mazel, it doesn't mean that the stars are given the blessings, it means that there's something that has been woven into what your life journey is. See an example of two very great sages, of Rabbi and Rav Chisda. They both could end a drought by praying for rain, and yet their physical lives were vastly different. One was a seemingly very blessed life, and one seems to be a life of much hardship. Also, we see that the angel, before a child comes into being, the angel goes up to God and says, what's going to be with this child? Rich or poor? The only thing it doesn't say is fear of heaven. But we're getting to over here, which obviously we're not focusing overly much on what does it mean in the physical sense. It's like, okay, the abundance of it is going to be dependent on your service. We covered that at the beginning, now set that aside. Next, we're going to shift focus about the idea, what does it mean that we serve God? The whole idea of service is that there's a master, and there's something he doesn't have, and thereby he has a servant to fill that need. It's a win-win for everybody. The master is lacking something, he has a servant to fill the need. The servant is being self-fulfilling, and now they also feel fulfillment. So everybody gets fulfillment, everybody gets what they need. God lacks for nothing. So what does it mean that we serve him? Not just it doesn't make sense that we're going to be serving God, but it's also, God is so perfect, he doesn't need our service, so what are we doing this for? What does it impact? What difference does it make? Doesn't even make a difference. And obviously the answer to that is both. Some say that your service actually makes no difference. But we say your service as in Torah mitzvos, you're not doing it for God, we're doing it for us and the world. The tzarif, to refine the world and creation. How do you deal with the world that we live in? We have to refine it, and the mitzvos tell us how to do that, and how to interact with the world. Then we say, actually, your service does make a difference. And that's what we saw, that the strength of Hashem be strengthened, and the example that we saw about when Moshe goes up and he sees Hashem tying the crowns and the letters, and God's like, hey, wish me luck in this. And so Moshe says this, and we also saw from Eicha Rabbah, where it says, you forgot the rock that bore you, for God isn't weakened, as if to say that actually what we do does make a difference. So which one is it, yes or no? We didn't get to the answer yet. That closed off the next section of the Maamar, so we started learning the text of it. We did the first sentence of the section. What is avoda? That we started looking at that. And we said, why is it that we serve God? God is perfect. He is a master. He doesn't need us. A master needs something. What's going on here? The line that we saw is the line that clarifies, like, what is it? The servant to master relationship. As we said, he's fulfilling a need. But up above. God, he's the completeness. He is the ultimate of everything. It's not understood how this whole thing of avoda, how does it fit? How can we say that we serve God? And we also have to understand, in this particular matter, we see steers is like a hiddenness. We see like a contradiction in what the sages say. Sometimes that sometimes we see that the whole idea of service, as in our divine service, has no effect above. As it says in the Medrash. That what does Hashem care if someone shechs from the neck or someone shechs from the nape? That's what we saw that it brought it in. Like, why does God care like this or like this? What difference does it make to him? The mitzvahs were not given except for only to refine the creations. So that's the first thing that we saw, that no, actually our service doesn't make a difference, not to him, but to us that makes a difference. This is Shekol in a mitzvahs and ela b'shvil tzarif ben esabris. So this line here that we just said, the Maamar quotes that line, and then the text that we saw has a little bit more than just one line. So the text that I pulled shows you the context of where this line comes from. So Shekol in a mitzvahs and ela b'shvil tzarif ben esabris. That the whole matter, what is the whole point of all the mitzvahs, is to refine the creations. The generalized translation. This has nothing to do, this doesn't touch, as in, this has no connection with above. Again, us being refined, what does that have to do with God? So that's the one opinion, is like, actually, your avodah, as in your divine service, is not about him, it's about you. As it says in the verse. So you see, 13, this is from Eve. If you sin, what do you do to him? If your transgressions are many, what do you do to him? If you're righteous, what do you do to him? As in, what do your actions matter? How do they affect God? And sometimes, and sometimes we see that avodas ha'adam, as in the work, as in our divine service of man, does have hashpa, has an influence above. That's a term you'd see a lot in Chassidic terminology. Hashpa. Mashpia is someone who gives influence to someone. Kedisa bemedrash, as it says in the Medrash, al pasuk on the verse, Vata yigdal nakoch adnai. Let now the strength of God be increased. Sha'idei kima Torah mitzvos nasa in dagdala b'shem adnai. That through Torah mitzvos, through fulfilling Torah mitzvos, we have the matter of actually increasing Shem adnai, like the power of Hashem. So do you notice here, we mentioned the verse from the text that we saw in the Maamar, that we saw the full verse, and then we also saw the part from the Gemara about Moshe speaking to Hashem. But Hashem says, aren't you going to wish me success? Do you see that is not referenced in the Maamar? The Maamar doesn't say as you see in the Gemara here. It's giving us the reference of the verse, and then you got to know what's being referenced. Well, that's what the footnotes are for. But that also just goes to show how the Rebbe, when they would speak, but the Rebbe would just, from everywhere, the Rebbe just had it all at his fingertips, and was able to just, here's proof, here's proof, here's proof. You can see we're talking about someone operating on a totally different level. And so we see, that through a lack in service, nasa chalishus, we, so to say, we weaken up above. above per se. Kedisa ben Medrash, as it says in the Medrash, ala pasuk, Tzuriletcha teshi. You forgot the rock that bore you. We saw the pasuk from Hazinu in full, but it says in the Medrash because then it's referencing Eicha Rabbah. That at a time when the Jewish people don't do Hashem's will, that would be a lack in the service that we have. We weaken per se the greatness of above. So these are the things that we saw the full text of it. So here's how the Maamar explains it. Does our service matter to him? Some say yes, and we have examples of that. Some say no, we have examples of that. Now, question, answer, and then undo everything and do a whole new answer. So we're still in the question, answer stage. Does our divine service affect him? It depends which level you're talking about. Are you surprised that we're going to break it down into levels? The level of doesn't make a difference, as in does our divine service make any difference to him, refers to Hashem as Adon Yachad Sharash Hasharashim. The singular master is the source of all sources. A level where man's divine service has no consequence. So this is God in the ultimate stage, the ultimate heights. That place, we have no effect on that. In his essence, he is complete and needs nothing, or it wouldn't be God. Essence is essence. Essence is whole, simpleness, wholesomeness, and everythingness. Obviously, there's no lack there. If there would be a lack, this is not God we're speaking about. So at that level, the level of essence, that's the level that our service does not affect. At least that's what we're saying right now. The first answer we're coming to, we don't affect there. However, for the sake of Hashem's glory, to draw down influence on the supernal heads, which is the initial levels of divine revelation, and ultimately to this world, and to unify the beginning of his thought with its end, as in to fulfill the purpose of everything, the thought which creates the world and is complete in the fulfillment of its purpose, service is completely necessary. As in higher level essence, our service does not affect. Lower levels, once we're talking about the creation itself, our service does affect. This is something that we've seen before. Last Maamar, the Maamar before that, when we talk about the whole spiritual ecological system. When we do a mitzvah, we're drawing down this divine light that gets drawn down into the world to nourish, etc., etc. As in, our actions do matter because our actions draw down the light into the world to nourish it and sustain it, etc., etc. So does our divine service make a difference? When we're talking about this whole spiritual ecological system, when we're talking about drawing down divine light, we're talking about the levels of creation, even at the highest levels of creation, the source makes a difference because we're the ones who are facilitating everything. We're the ones who are making sure everything's operating the way it should. For godliness to manifest through Seder Shtalshalos, so for godliness to come about through the whole chain order of creation, the chain of creation starting with Chachma, Chachma is the starting point, so we see from the attributes, called beginning, the start of existence and divine attributes, and even higher in the source of emanated beings, the preliminary stage of the attributes, which would be Arch Anpin of Keser, the source of emanations, but not Atik Yom, the source of all sources, man's divine service matter. So just wrapping up, on what level does our divine service matter? All through the 10 attribute levels, and then if you remember what's above all the attributes, Keser, the crown, the same way the crown goes atop of the head. Remember we learned about the crown? We learned there's 2 levels in the crown. Ratzon and Tainug, the will and the want and the level of delight. What are the other names that we have for it? Atik Yomin, which is removed from the days, removed from creation, and Arich Anpin, that is the level, that is the source. Atik Yomin, which is the lowest aspect of the emanator, Atik Yomin, which is removed. On that level, our divine service does not affect. That is the level that is above, and that is the level that is not connected to creation. So when we're drawing through the lights, etc., at that level, we are not affecting. That's not where we're drawing from. However, the level of Arich Anpin, which is Sharash and Atzalim, the source of emanations, we're calling it emanations, they're not creation yet, but eventually we'll get to creation, which we learned in the Micha Maamar. On that level, the level of Arich, the lower level of Keser, on that level, we do. Why? Because all the attributes, that's tap into their source. We affect definitely on the level of the attributes, and the attributes, because they're drawing down from the source of the emanations, they're drawing down from that source, so ultimately we affect on that level too. So right now we're saying, does your service make a difference? We're actually defining it further to say on one measure, our service does make a difference, and that's the entire spiritual ecological system that we learned about, which is to say that every time that we're doing as we're supposed to be doing, we're making sure everything's running the way it should, and if God forbid, we don't do what we're supposed to be doing, our service makes a difference, our lack of service, God forbid, is going to affect that whole spiritual ecological system, the light that's being drawn down. The level that's above that, higher than that, is totally not connected to creation. It's totally not connected to anything close to the realms that we're operating in. So at that level, our service, divine services, actually does not make a difference. That is not the level that we're drawing down to bring the divine light in here. That's what we say so far.